All right, so welcome everyone to episode 2 of the Radiant Woman podcast. And today I am so excited to have my bestest friend in the whole wide world, Kristie Ord. Kristie is also a multimillionaire. She's a mum of 3 under 6. She's just an all-round incredible human being, and I adore her so much. And yeah, so welcome, Kristie, to my podcast.
Oh, so good to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's an honour.
So I know, just kind of to give some context, when I invited you on and we were kind of discussing what would we love to chat about today. And it was really around, even what I just shared before, around setting a new standard for female friendships and, and environments. And so I'd love to start off with, do you want to share a little bit about, just a funny story, how we became friends and what do you believe makes our friendship so epic?
Okay. Well, the situation was...
It was a whole situation.
It's a whole situation. So Chi and I knew each other for a number of years, and, we'd seen each other at events and, all sorts of different areas online, etc. But we were really never great friends. Like, we just kind of were like the hi and bye friends. Like, hi, good to see you.
Facebook
What's been happening, And then basically, I think it was 2020. Yeah, just after I had my second child, my daughter Ava, Chi came to our cacao event. So we did I launched a cacao business, and she came to the launch night. And then she ended up staying with a friend of ours, and she asked if we wanted to go up and see her and catch up and all of that. So we did, and we had this epic night together. So we hung out with some of our friends, took some mushies, and just had a great night. And then the next day, Chi was like, "Oh, do you want to come and do a Koya class?" And I was like, "Koya, what is that?" And and she's like, "Oh, it's this feminine embodiment practice and movement." And I was like, "All right, cool. Sounds great. Sign me up." So I did that. And I remember driving home, and I was like, I just felt so good. Like, I felt so amazing. And I remember being on the highway, and I was driving, and I had the tunes pumping, and I was like, woo, I just feel amazing. I'm like, was it the mushrooms? Was it the Koya? Was it a mix of both? Like, what is going on here? And then just seeing Chi's transformation and her work that she'd been embodying. And I was like, I really need to, I just knew that I had to do some work with you. And so I literally messaged Chi as soon as I got home, and I was like, right, I'm like, what are you doing Monday? And this was, I think, Sunday. I think it was literally the next day. Like, do you reckon you would come to my house for a 2 to 3 weeks and just really support me? Because at the time I was a very busy entrepreneur, and I was running my life at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and I had 1,000,000 ideas in my head at all times. I was definitely not into any feminine embodiment at all. Very much operating from a very masculine energy. And so I was like, I need to do more of this work. And so Chi said yes. She was a bit afraid at first because she didn't want to go across the border because it was 2020 times, and it was all a bit risky at the time.
I was like, I can't cross over into New South Wales because then I can't get back into Queensland, and now I'm bloody living in New South Wales.
And I was like, trust me, Chi, as soon as you come here, you won't be leaving. You're going to love this area. And so she came down, and we started working together, and I was literally the hardest client ever. We had strict timing that we were going to start every day our practice, because I really just wanted someone to hold me accountable and to support me through understanding these practices and getting in my body and dropping in, etc. And I was always late, and I always had 1,000,000 excuses as to why I couldn't do it. And I was like, actually, no, I can't do today. I've got 3 meetings in the next hour. And she kept lovingly calling me forward, and and then she actually ended up living at our house for a few months, and we just got to know each other on such a deep level. I think when you're two people that are very much into growth and you're in your own journey, you get to, when you're literally in each other's space every day, you get to see exactly who each other are. And one day, our hubbies went away together. They went camping and took our boys. And then I just like remember
We
saying
went
to
to
Chi, I was
Byron.
like, we're just so similar. Like how we do motherhood, how we do life, how we do business, how we just do human things. Like we both like couldn't even work a dishwasher. And our hubbies just roll our eyes at us around these human things. So I was like, you're just like me. Like we can't even do like normal basic human things.
Yeah. And find parenting challenging.
And, you know, finding parenting challenging and, you know, just all the things, all the things. So we just, and then we just had the best time ever together. We were just laughing about everything. We really quickly became really good friends.
And it was so funny, like that moment. Like I actually remember standing in your kitchen and you were just watching me. I don't even know what I was doing, but you're just watching me and you're like, you're really similar to me. And it was really funny that moment because we had only known each other from like each other's social media personas.
Yeah.
And so I just perceived you as like this like, you know, hard ass, like badass boss bitch kind of, you know, just like, and then you perceived me as, or I don't even know, like healing or whatever. But then when we actually, you know, spent all this time together, and I think also as well as like, we were both doing Koya regularly. And when you do Koya, nothing can stay suppressed. So it was also all of our
stuff was coming to the surface.
Yeah, we were like, how many times we were crying on each other's shoulders.
Literally.
And that's what created the intimacy and connection very quickly. But yeah.
I love that you shared that because it's true. It's like we did the deep work together, and by doing the deep work together, it was like nothing could be hidden or like no facade or any of that. Like all of that just couldn't be there because it was just about truth and transparency and authenticity. And so all of our stuff together came to the surface, and we really held each other in some really dark times.
Yeah.
You know, like when we first started working together, I was literally, I remember I just had a $200,000 month and business was going really well and, you know, all of the things, but I actually felt so miserable within, and I'd done a lot of mindset work and all of that, but I was still operating just in this very masculine get shit done way, not wanting to like look at, like address my feelings, not wanting to cry, not wanting to feel, just like blocking all of that out and running 1,000,000 miles an hour to avoid feeling the stuff that was there. And so it was like this breath of fresh air when you came along of like, yes, I've got the business success, but you know, within I don't feel fulfilled. Like even though I lived in this beautiful house, lived by the beach, I had, you know, incredible people even though I had incredible people around me, I actually didn't have very intimate, close friendships. So that's also been such a healing thing.
You had the external freedom, but not the internal freedom. There was so much. Yeah. And I think what's really powerful and beautiful as well is like the fact that, we did know each other or know of each other like 4 years prior to starting this friendship, but it's almost like we met each other when we were both in a bit of a dark night of the soul. And like that's the power of the dark night of the soul, when all of the facades and all of the bullshit and anything that is not true crumbles and you meet yourself in your truth. And then that's when, you know, you can meet each other. And like, it's the funny thing because so many people are craving more depth and intimacy in friendships and relationships in general, but people are so afraid of showing their vulnerability, of truly showing their heart. And that's what I remember like back in those days was just like, I can remember like you sitting on the stair crying, and then I'm like sitting with my arm around you, and then like next minute I'm crying and I'm like, I've got like snot coming out my nose, even like on your ship. And I had never allowed, up until that moment, I had spent so much of my life feeling so lonely because I kept like the fucking Great Wall of China around my heart, because I was terrified of letting anyone see what I perceived how broken I was. I was so ashamed. I was like, no one can see these demons, quote unquote. And turns out that letting someone see that was everything that I was ever looking for. I was just wanting to be seen for who I truly was and have someone that loves me and gets me for all of me.
Same. It's been a very healing journey for both of us. And, you know, a lot of people now say like, oh, I wish I had a friendship like yours and Chi's. And it's like, because we've been willing to grow with each other. We've been willing to like see each other in our darkest stuff and hold space for each other and without judgment, and really just really support each other and be truthful and transparent and authentic with what's actually there.
100%. And so that brings us into the next piece.
Well, I just had a memory pop up.
Oh, go.
Can I share it?
Yes.
So I just had this drop in. I remember one day when we were living together and unintentionally living together for months.
It's because at that time we didn't even have enough money to put a roof over our heads.
Yeah. Yes. So I was walking around the kitchen in like every day in these like daggy tracksuit pants and this like boob tube top, and she's like, is this like your only thing that you wear? Like, what's going on? You've got all these lovely clothes in your wardrobe, but this is the only thing that you wear every day. And she's like, you're a millionaire when you basically look like a homeless person. And I was like, oh yeah, because I don't actually fit into any of my other clothes. So these are the only clothes I fit into. And she was like, well,
you're a fucking millionaire walk around like a hobo.
What are you doing? Like, you need to go get some new clothes. And I was like, oh no, I can't go and get new clothes because I've put on all this weight and I can't accept that I'm like now a large and a size 14. So I'm not going to buy any.
Denial.
Yeah, I'm not going to buy any new clothes because I'm going to just fit back into my old clothes. She's like, that's ridiculous. Let's go shopping. All right, you've got money, you can buy some new clothes.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Well, I'd
lovingly calling me forward.
Yeah. Well, I'd had my own experience with that, you know, of like giving birth and then being a size 12 after being a 8 to 10 my whole life, and spending like 2 years or 3 years like just waiting to be able to fit back into my old clothes.
Sitting around waiting.
And I just yeah, like sometimes you'd even wear like Clint's pants or something.
Oh yeah.
It's so funny. And then I got to the point where I realised like, I think I need to just stop waiting and buy some nice size 12 clothes.
I still don't fit back. I'm glad I didn't wait much longer and you called me forward.
You would have been waiting 4 years.
Waiting a while. I still don't fit back into them.
Yeah, so good. Yeah. Yeah, so, all right, love that. And then, all right, before we go into the communication piece, just quickly, I'd love to know, so, yeah, you were this high-achieving, high-performing entrepreneur and, you know, already making a lot of money, very successful. But there was a void. And you were trying to fill that by doing more and achieving more, distracting yourself. So I'd love for you to share, like, what was the biggest thing that shifted for you or that you really got out of doing the work that we did together?
Well, Chi was like my heart checker. So every time, you know, we'd hug or whatever, she's like, your heart's closed today, doll. What's going on? We need to get that heart back open. And I'm like, no, okay, all right. Chi's like the heart checker of our group. She hugs people.
It's a superpower.
Yeah, heart's closed today. So, I mean, working with you, like, I literally am like your number one fan because any retreat that's happening, any like Koya Day event that's happening, like, I'm there. I'm like, sign me up, give me the VIP, take my money, because it's like, it's such incredible work and so much shifted for me. Like, very quickly I started to see results, you know. When we first started doing sessions together, I was very much like, oh, we need to stop and I need to get the whiteboard out and write down a million ideas. And I literally couldn't just be present with myself. I couldn't just be. And that really showed. It wasn't safe for me to be in my body. That was a really big thing that came up. And just so much was there that I didn't even consciously know that was even there. And so bit by bit over the last 4 years, it's like all of that's been dropping away. Like, I've been opening my heart more and, you know, just being able to be with myself and be present and, you know, just go within. And, you know, now, like, this is my favorite work. Like, whenever we're together and we're singing and we're dancing and, you know, we're frolicking about in nature and saunas and creek swims and all the things, it's like, that's actually what success looks like for me now. You know, if you'd asked me back when I first started creating money and wealth and all of that, what success looked for me, it was like, oh, like, living in a big mansion and driving a Lamborghini and, like, you know, all this stuff, becoming famous. And I'm like, now I couldn't actually give two shits about any of that. It's like, success now means for me, like, slow mornings, being in nature, doing what I want when I want, like signing up to epic retreats, nourishing myself. Like I really never put myself first, and you've been such a big catalyst of like this piece around nourishment comes first, right? And that's literally how I live my whole life now. Like I'm now known as that person that lives her life of like, you know, I frolic about from retreat to a retreat and day spa to day spa across the Tweed and Northern Rivers and live my life like that and honour myself. And even like this week, like I had my bleed and I was really low in energy, and then I was meant to do like a VIP day, and I was like, actually that's not going to serve me or that person to the highest. Like if I'm depleted and I'm not nourished, then how am I going to be able to show up for myself and this other person? And so like just also really honouring myself in that way of like I need to cancel something or change something, that's actually okay. Whereas most of the time we're living in this world of like we made this commitment and we have to be there, and yes there is those moments of honouring your word, and there's also like honouring yourself, and it's that balance, right? And so I just really lovingly requested to my client that, hey, could we actually change the day for in 2 weeks' time? This is truthfully what's going on for me, and I want to be able to serve you at my highest. And she met me with love and compassion and was like, of course, like go and take care of yourself, you know? So yeah, like so much has shifted for me since working with you, and I love this work so very much. Yeah.
That's really powerful. And what I hear in that is like that you redefined your definition for what success is to you.
What success is, what wealth is, like all of that got shifted. Yeah. Like everything that was there was kind of more from an ego place. Whereas what's now, it's like this is what's true for me. You know, like being able to be present for my kids, being able to take my kid to soccer twice a week. Like these are the things that actually is what defines success for me. And also like being able to go, well, you know what? I actually feel like going to Bali in the next week by myself and having a supportive husband and not feeling mum guilt if I want to do those things, and actually being able to also go and live my life.
Yes. Yeah. And that's a huge one. There's so much in that. So I love that so much, that redefining the success and learning to put yourself first without guilt, knowing that, because the facts are, it's like if we want to hold a big capacity, like, you know, you running $2 million plus businesses and 3 kids under 6, it's like if you didn't live your life in this way, you would burn out, and it's like as simple as that. And I love this as well, because I think it's deconditioning from the BS stories of like society that if you want to be successful, you got to like hustle and like grind and push. And it's like, that's actually not true, because it's not sustainable. And that's why so many people, there's so many stories, so many of entrepreneurs who they achieve incredible levels of success, and then it crumbles overnight. They crash and burn. They go bankrupt because the way that they were building it and creating that success was not actually sustainable. So I love that. Thank you for sharing. Yes. And okay, maybe we'll come back to that. There's so much in that. Okay, let's go into talking about effective communication in relationships, especially female friendships. And first, before we go into this, I just want to say I literally saw a post the other day, and it said studies have shown, like it's scientifically proven that we need friendship like we need air and food and water. Like to truly thrive, we need friendship, like, and meaningful, deep friendships. And so this is so, so, so important. So, and a huge piece of that is communication, because without being open and transparent, relationships, friendships fall apart. So, and we've had some experiences with that. So what would you like to share first around?
Yeah, I think communication in any relationship is what keeps a relationship thriving. And if there can't be a two-way conversation and communication and being honest, both parties being honest in how they feel and also taking responsibility without like projection and blame on the other person, like that's where relationships thrive. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's always actually been a really big thing, relationships, especially female relationships. Up until really I met you, I mean, I've had some other really great friendships that are still, you know, long-lasting friendships.
Yeah.
But really, like, it's always been a bit of a thing because there's always a point where, like, you create the friendship and then you get more intimate, and then it's like that intimacy can't go any deeper because hearts are closed. No one wants to share how they're feeling.
Because they've only gone that deep within themselves.
Exactly.
Like, you can only go as deep with someone as they've gone within themselves. Yeah.
And if both people aren't willing to communicate, then of course a relationship's just probably going to fizzle out and end. And that's what I had seen because I was avoiding communication. Like, I've avoided communication so many times because it was easier to walk away from a friendship, which is crazy when I think about it. But it's like, for me, it was easier to walk away from a friendship than to actually, like, go straight on to have some conflict, because I thought conflict was a negative thing. But it's like, it's actually confrontation and conflict is actually quite healthy in a friendship and in a relationship, because there is going to be stuff that comes up. Like, we've had stuff come up. We've had most of the time we're pretty sweet, but we've been around each other a lot and we've grown a lot and we've both become, you know, different versions of ourselves. And so there is times where we've triggered each other. We've had stuff come up and we talk about it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like, when there's avoidant behavior and no one actually wants to just share how they're feeling or take responsibility, then there's not going to be a friendship there. And I think that's what makes our friendship really special.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's why a lot of people actually don't get the intimacy that they're craving or seeking in a relationship, friendship, because it takes courage to have those confronting conversations, or say, you know, hey, what you said the other day actually really hurt me, or what you said the other day, you know, triggered me or made me feel angry or whatever, because that's us being in our vulnerability. And it really does take courage to have those conversations. But I know for me, I mean, my husband, Steve, for me, a big thing for me is that I really value truth, and I deeply, deeply value as well love and connection. Like, truth and love and connection are two of my core values. So if I'm not living those, I'm not happy. And I think for me, I spent so many years feeling really lonely and having that pain. So that is now, because I've experienced that, that's now the thing that drives me to have the courage to go, you know what? I would rather have this uncomfortable conversation and see it and come out to the other side than this relationship be affected in any way, because this relationship is more important than whatever fears or bullshit that I have. You know, I value this relationship more than whatever my fear is around, I don't want to share, like, whatever it is, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a big one. And that's why I think, like, both our marriages, you know, thrive, is because we're both in marriages where we can communicate and we can lovingly call each other forward, and, you know, we can have these conversations, which is really important, because, again, it's like a marriage can only go so far and so deep based on the level of, like, conversation and communication you're willing to have and support for each other.
Totally.
So, yeah.
And it's so sad that so many relationships will break down because two people can't just have that conversation. And I think a big thing as well is where the personal work comes in, is when you're doing this work, being able to have the awareness of what are my needs and desires. Because for so many people, if they're completely unaware of what's going on within them, then they're just going to project their stuff and their insecurities and go, well, it's them, it's my partner, they're doing this, they're doing that. And that's another piece that makes, I think, like, our our relationship with our husbands, our relationship together as friends, so good, is that we are both very self-responsible. We can come to a conversation saying, I feel X, Y, Z, and own it. And what's also really interesting is, I think, this illusion that so many people will avoid the uncomfortable conversation because there's a fear of that they'll lose love. That's the irony and the crazy piece, right? It's
Because then they actually do lose love.
exactly, because whatever we're avoiding, we
Yeah.
end up recreating.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's like people in a friendship or a marriage are like, oh, I don't want to communicate or express how I'm truly feeling because I'm going to hurt the other person, or I'm going to lose love and connection. It's like, no, you not expressing yourself is the fucking thing that is going to,
Totally. And I'll give an example around this, and I've shared this with you as well before, of like, you know, just a perfect example of how this played out in my life and where I avoided things. It was like, so a friend of mine, we were relatively close friends. She was having a baby at the same time I was having my third baby. And I had promised her that I would do something at her blessing way and support her at that blessing way. And at the same time, I was going through a lot of like really deep, like there was deep trauma coming up from birth trauma from my first birth. There was like deep fear about going into childbirth again, around pain. Like I was moving through so much stuff and I was so in my own stuff that I literally couldn't even support myself, let alone support anybody else. But rather than just having a truthful conversation about where I was at and actually say, you know what, I'm so sorry to let you down. I'm just moving through this right now and I'm not actually going to be there. I literally just didn't show up to the blessing way, and of course she didn't speak to me after that because it was like I really let her down and I wasn't truthful and I wasn't in communication. And around a year and a half later, I reached out to her and I said, hey, you know what? I'm so sorry. Like I wasn't there for you as a friend and I really apologize. And this is what I was going through at the time. But that was no reason not to communicate with you. And I'm so sorry. And, if you take me back into your life, like this won't happen again. I'm committed to communication, that being a really high value in my relationships moving forward. And I just owned it and took responsibility. And from doing so, because she's also done her own work and self-mastery and doesn't hang on to things and knows how to forgive people and understands when people are going through stuff, she met with me with love and compassion and was like, it is so good to hear from you. I thought I'd done something wrong. I thought I'd done something to like break up the friendship or whatever. And she's like, I would love to see you. And it's like, this is how...
That's so beautiful.
Like beautiful, loving communication happens and relationships can come back together with that level of like ownership, responsibility, forgiveness, compassion, etc.
100%. Yeah. And I love what you shared in there around, she said to you, oh, I thought I had done something wrong. And that's the thing is like... people being scared to have these conversations often because they're scared of hurting other people's feelings. And it's like, no, the only way you'll hurt someone is by being avoidant or not saying anything. And I think it's just, having that trust and that knowing that when you do just express yourself and you communicate and you are honest with where you're at and how you're feeling, it's always going to be the best outcome, not only for yourself, but for everyone involved.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Okay. So I'd love to next go into what do you believe it really takes to be a multimillionaire? Because only 2% of female entrepreneurs make it to 7 figures. So...
Okay.
And both
How
of us,
long have we got?
and both of us, I think we're passionate about increasing. It should be a higher percentage than that.
Yeah.
But what do you? What are your
So
thoughts?
vision is very important,
Yeah.
right? Without a vision, without knowing where you want to go and what you want your life to look like and what your dream life looks like and why that's important to you and why it's important to the people around you and why it's important to the greater good and the greater collective, like you're not working towards anything. So there's got to be a deep why and a deep vision there. And then you've got to be devoted to that vision and have very clear focus on that vision. So devotion and discipline and consistency and commitment in going all in with that vision is really important, because the truth is there is going to be adversity that comes up. There is going to be potential failures that are going to happen. And it's like, why are we so scared to fail? challenge and failure and growth and lessons is all part of it. Like actually just embrace the wild, wild west of entrepreneurship and dive in. And, if you fail, if something happens, just work through it, pick yourself up and keep going. Like,
That's what
and
I said to my inner circle clients the other night. I was like, it's like, yeah, it can be a roller coaster sometimes. So buckle up, motherfuckers, and like enjoy the ride.
Enjoy it, right? Like you're going
to
go up and down and upside down and all the things. And so it really does take, being okay to potentially fail, being okay to have adversity, being okay to have challenges. And when those things do happen, it's like, cool, they're there. Great. Extract the lessons, extract the growth, extract the wisdom from them, implement and embody those lessons for next time, moving through whatever comes up. And
keep moving.
Then just keep moving, like keep going with the vision. And the vision's got to be really clear. And also, like, I truly believe that when we help enough people in life get what they want to get, we're simply just taken care of and supported from doing so. And so it's really about stop making it so much about yourself. Like some people get into business and they're all like, oh, but my nose is all funny, and then like I've got this like I got the chubby arms, and then I've got like this going on, and I hate my voice, and like who's gonna like even like take on anything that I've got to say? I don't even have any value to share. And it's like you've actually just got to stop making it so much about yourself and just make it about other people. How can you just add value to people's lives every day? How can you positively change like other people's lives and focus on that, focus on genuinely wanting to serve people and genuinely wanting to support people with their problem and providing a solution. That's literally what we're doing as entrepreneurs. Yeah. So, there's obviously 100%. many factors, but I think for me, what the real thing has always come back to is like, I'm just really devoted to my vision. Like we literally said in the car, which might be a bit extreme, but we were like, we would rather die than work a 9 to 5 again, or like a job for someone else, because that sucks. Like it does. It literally sucks. Why would you spend your life, your precious time, that there's not that much of it really, let's face it, to build someone else's dreams when like you've got your own dreams. So if you haven't even understood what your own dreams are, like start dreaming, start getting clear, because you might not think it's possible for you, but it is. Like we were on the start of our journey, we were broke, we were broken. I've been at the absolute bottom of like the hip rock bottom. I had to move back home with my parents after like many failed business adventures. I still picked myself back up and kept going, because I was like, well, yeah, I haven't made it yet, but I will make it, and I'm devoted to the vision, and all of that actually started with getting clear on what my values were. So this is a really big piece of it, because I identified very early on in my entrepreneurial journey that my highest value was freedom, time freedom, financial freedom, location freedom, and now inner freedom.
Love that.
Yes. And it had to, whatever I ended up doing had to ensure that I could live my life like that, and a life of choice. Yeah. And so,
a life of truth. Because if you're not living your values, it's like you're not living your truth.
Exactly. And so I knew that if I didn't actually live my life in accordance to that highest value, then I wouldn't be fulfilled. So that had to be, vision and values was really important. And then it's just being aligned to that and keep going. Like, why would I stop when I know what's actually available? Like, I'm living what's available to people, which most people would see as kind of like having it all and having the choice and having the flexibility and having the income and all of the things. And it's like, of course, that is available to us when we're devoted to the vision and we're aligned to our values and we're creating that life for ourselves. So, yeah.
Yeah, totally. And it is so possible. That's the thing. It's like, I think it's very easy for people to forget how fucking powerful they are, that they are infinitely powerful beings, that they literally can create anything they want. It's like, this is like the biggest illusion of the human journey, is like we come here and we forget that we do have that power. And and it's interesting because for me, I'm a master coach, meaning that I know that I can help any single person overcome any single block. And it does really get to be that simple where, when I'm doing like, say, a clarity session, we go look at the person's vision, what they want to achieve in 12 months, what they want their life to look like. And then we look at, okay, cool, where are you at now? Because a map is only useful if we know where we are on the map. And then we look at, cool, what is stopping you from getting from A to B? And it's just like, what's really common is, you know, the fear of failure, fear of success, self-doubt, not feeling worthy of what you want. And that is literally the only thing that's blocking people from getting from A to B. And it's so simple. It's like, these are actually a really easy fix. If success is 80-20, invest in strategy, the 20%, invest in the 80%, the inner work, and success will be inevitable. It's like,
Yeah.
don't. So I think for me, both me and you, no one can come to us with any limitations because we're going to fucking call it because there are no limitations other than the ones that we create in our own mind. Yeah.
Totally. And we've got to have that, you know, we've got to be our own biggest cheerleader.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we've got to cultivate deep, radical self-belief in ourselves and self-confidence. And oftentimes people just aren't owning their worth. They're not owning their power. They're not owning who they are. They don't believe that it's possible for them.
Or they're not willing to face off with those things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And until we do that work, you know, there's going to be a kink in the hose. And nobody wants any kinks in their hose.
No one wants a kink in those. So, yeah. And so something we talk about often when we're just, you know, frolicking about.
Frolicking about from day spa to day spa.
Yeah. Is, well, it's really funny actually. So recently Kristie, she keeps bringing up, you know, like, we've only got 50 good years left back. Like, what? Keeps talking about
before
death.
we're old
and I'm
and
like,
decrepit.
this is 50 years, we're going to be old and decrepit. But we talk about it from the point of like, yeah, when you are at the end of your life and you're looking back, what are the things that will have mattered the most? So I'd love for you to share, like, when you are in your final moments on this earth, what is it that will have mattered the most to you?
That I lived for the vibe. As Chi and I's new saying.
It's our life motto.
We just really live for the vibe, don't we? Yeah, no, seriously, that's really it, you know, like that I lived for the vibe, that I celebrated my life and that, you know, I went for it and I had great relationships with people and I had great relationships with my husband and my kids and we created beautiful memories and experiences. Like I don't really see the last moments of my life being like, oh my God, yay, I have like 20 houses. If that happens, great. I mean, that's one of my goals. But that's not it for me. It's like it's looking back and knowing that I created the most amazing memories and experiences and I got to travel all over the world. And you know, like for us, what's really important is we want to take our kids to different cultures and different countries. Like they're not going to traditional school. I'm like, the world will literally be their school, their playground. So yeah, like I just want to know that I was also a really great person that, you know, had great vibes and had fun and just enjoyed it all and didn't take it all so seriously. And that I made a positive impact on other people's lives. And I think what I'm really come back to with like, what is the impact that I make? And it's like, if I can do it, then you can do it. Yeah. And I think that that's what I do well at, is keeping it real and keeping it authentic and, you know, speaking what's there and real and raw and also showing people what's possible. And it doesn't matter where you are in life, like you get to create whatever you want, anything, you know? So it's like, if I can leave with that message, you know, and impact as many people with that of like, if she can do it, I can do it, like amazing.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. So good. Love you. So that's all the questions that I have for you.
Okay, time flies when you're having fun in the potty studio.
Yeah.
Cool.
So,
now it's my turn.
Yes.
Oh, all right.
Should I be scared?
So my first question for you is, what is it really like in a day of the life of Chi? Well, now that we're talking real and raw and truth, what does it look like for you?
Here we go. All right. A day in the life of... Okay. Being really real and raw today.
Yeah, let's take today.
Okay, today. Basically, a day in the life of my... So for anyone listening who knows about human design, I'm a 6 line in human design. So basically my life is one big death and rebirth after another. And it's really full on sometimes. I I'm currently 32 years old, and the first 30 years of my life, I went through a lot. And so I'm still on that healing journey. And literally today, I picked you up from the servo, and we drove up here, and you're like, how are you? And I was having a full-on emotional meltdown and just feeling grief and hurt and stuff from my past. And so a day in the life of would be, I wake up in the morning, I do my practices, I see my husband and my son, and I serve my clients. And, maybe if it's a goddess day, I have a goddess day on a Wednesday. It's frolicking about with you, going to spas, going to restaurants. And so my life is really amazing. And between all of that, though, I am really on a huge healing journey. And sometimes it's really intense. But the thing that I want, my life to be an example of is you don't have to have healed all your trauma. You don't have to have, be this perfect person or wait until you're at a certain phase of your healing personal development journey before you can have everything that you want. Because my life is an example that you can have trauma, you can have all these things and be actively healing it and doing the personal growth work whilst also living a really fucking incredible life.
Yep.
Which I do. I have incredible friends. I have the most loving, supportive husband, beautiful family, celebrated in March, 56K month, and successful business. I love my clients. I am so fucking clear on my purpose and what I'm here to do on this earth. I know who I am so intimately, and it's because I devote so much time, hours and hours and hours, and I have over the last 13 years because I decided that my past was not going to equal my future. And so, yeah.
Yes. And I love that you're such a example. Like, this is the thing with your work, is you're not telling everybody to go feel your emotions and then you're not, right? Like, that's the biggest thing that I see behind closed doors is, like, you are so willing to really go to every, area to actually do the deep healing work, and you're so committed to it and you're so all in with it. And it's like, by you leading by example means you being in that work yourself. And sometimes I know that can be hard for you. Like, you've been through so much, and sometimes it can feel tough. You live this epic life, and you've also been through a lot of trauma, and it's like, it's really beautiful to witness you just being such an example of somebody who, no matter what you've gone through, is like really willing to just keep working on yourself and to keep healing and to be that example for others of, like, it doesn't matter what you've gone through, you can live an incredible life. And so, yeah, I love that you feel all your emotions and you've got a big squishy open heart.
I do. I do. Thank you. Yeah. We were driving up here, and I was saying to Kristie, just sharing a couple things of, like, what my clients are moving through, like, anonymously. But there's just, I see. I think also what's challenging for me is I'm such an empath, and I see how much pain and suffering there is in the world. And one of my big drivers to heal myself is not just for me, is because I care, like, about people, and I know what it is to suffer. And through my journey, I've found what it takes to also free ourselves from suffering. And it took me a long time to find that. Which is my huge driver. And I love what you shared before around stop making it so much about you, because it's really not. Like, we could build this incredible life for ourselves, but then it kind of gets to a point where it's like, okay, and I had this experience even a couple of years ago where I was, my life was pretty much just going to spas and restaurants and, like, going away and just flapping about with my friends. And I just started feeling a bit unfulfilled because I wasn't showing up and sharing or making the impact that I was desiring. So showing up and serving and making an impact and living for something greater than yourself it's what gives life meaning.
Totally.
Yeah. If I had just been through everything I went through and it's like, okay, I'm just living my awesome life, and then it would feel a bit meaningless, to be honest. So.
All right. One more question.
Okay.
So what's an example of when like something comes up and then you go and do the work on it and then what happens on the other side? Because I feel like I see you live like this, right? But sometimes people don't get what this actually means. So it's like they've got stuff coming up, whether it's not good enough, self-worth, fear of failure, fear of success, deep trauma, deep stuff coming up, you know, all of the things. And then it's like, go heal. Yeah. Like this whole thing of like, we'll go and work on that and heal the trauma and heal what's there. And then on the other side, it's like the external results are going to be different. You know, it's like we both talk so much about inner work and the strategy work, and it being like when you do the inner work, like the strategy then can work if you're not cock blocking your own success, because most of the time it's just what's going on within, right?
Totally.
So what's an example of you, because you're so like you live by example of this, of like something that comes up, the feeling, you've done the work to move through it, and then on the other side the result is different. Yeah.
Well, I have so many, that's just basically my life as I go through a massive death and rebirth and then like
every day,
you know, I make 50k or like fucking I get in whatever, like so there's so many examples, but the first one that dropped in was like literally because March was my biggest cash month and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And I didn't really do a lot in terms of strategy. I didn't like do a big launch or anything. But what I did do was I healed this massive wound I had from feeling deeply hurt and let down by a past mentor of mine. And it wasn't just that, but she had triggered the hurt and let down I felt around my father, who sexually abused me and was not what a father should be. So I felt extremely hurt and let down, obviously, by that situation. And then how things ended with her, she triggered that wound. And I held on to it deeply for about 4 years, and it held me back because I didn't invest in a business coach again for 4 years. And so I felt it was moving through all of that, feeling the hurt, feeling the grief around that friendship, but also and relationship, but also the wound from my father. Really, really deep, you know, like feeling like my heart was breaking into a million pieces. And that was the thing I really went into and felt, and I moved through it. And then it was kind of, it sounds like not real, but it's just like magic. Boom, I didn't even really try, and I made $56,000 in a month. Because everything in our external world is simply a reflection of our internal world. Like, as you know, and it is like magic. It's like we go within, we shift what's happening in here, and then you look out and you go, holy shit, everything in my life is different. And I call that the inside out approach to life versus what most people are doing, which is the outside in approach. Most people will go, well, I'm not feeling happy in here, so I'm going to try and, you know, get a new relationship or make more money or distract myself or drink or whatever it is to shift how I feel in here. And it never fucking works. Because that's not the truth of the reality that we're living in. So when we start to live our lives from an inside out approach, meaning if I'm seeing something out there that I don't like, I need to shift something in here. That's when life gets really fucking magical and juicy.
And I think it's important to add to that is like when we sometimes embark on this work, it is going to sometimes open up some deep stuff, like Pandora's, not sometimes, it is going to open up the deep stuff. Let's not sugarcoat it. And you're literally lifting the lid of Pandora's box, right? And so it's going to feel uncomfortable, and it's going to feel like sometimes you can't handle all the stuff that's coming to the surface, but it is so worth it to move through it. on the other side. You know, I've just even started a new container working with somebody, and, you know, you and I have regularly got people in our corner to support us in this way. And it was really interesting because we kind of like opened the container and, you know, I was talking about some of my goals and specifically around like health and wellness and just some stuff there, and where I want to go into terms of being really at an optimal level. And then literally the next day, so I started that container, and literally the next day I had this thing happen online where I basically got like fat shamed and body shamed. And it was such a great moment for me to be like, wow, if that had happened a year ago, I would have been deeply affected by that. But I got to see how much I've worked through my own stuff around body shame and fat shame and, you know, all of that. Because I put on a lot of weight after having my 3 children that I've done so much deeper work around that. Whereas literally I had so much around that last year. But it was also interesting that I started this container and then that happened. And it's like, of course, all these things are going to happen when you start like doing the work, right? It's gonna pop up. So it's like, it's worth it. And just also being mindful. And that's what we obviously talk about is like, you got to be willing. You got to be willing to really go there and do the work.
And we can handle it.
Yep.
That's the thing. Nothing is ever going to come up that you can't handle. People underestimate how strong and resilient we are as human beings. We're incredibly strong and resilient. No matter what grief or rage or anger or whatever comes up, be with it, breathe, feel it in your body, and, you know, get support. Ask someone to put their hand on your shoulder if you need that. But it's like, you've got this. This is not going to kill you. What will kill you is suppressing it. So
Love that.
Love that, babes.
What a vibe. Living for the vibes over here.
All right. So thank you so much for coming on today. We're at time, but is there any final piece, last message that you want to close out with, or
something that we always do that's been a big part of our friendship while we're on the topic of friendship and communication and supporting each other is to celebrate. You know, when you're with your friends and when you're with people that anyone really, like, ask them what they're celebrating in their life. That's something that we literally, every time we see each other, we're like, so what are you celebrating? Even if we've just celebrated yesterday, what are you celebrating today?
Because there's always something to celebrate.
Exactly. And I said to Chi the other day, I was like, do you think we just spend our whole lives just celebrating? She just giggled. And I'm like, it really does get to be one big celebration, right? Like it's celebrating the stuff you're working through. It's celebrating like investing into yourself. It's celebrating the micro wins and the micro steps. And like if you're about growth, then you're celebrating every step of that growth and that journey, you know? So like incorporate that into your friendships and your relationships. Actually support people, actually want people to win and celebrate them and love on them with all of that. And be honest. That's the key to the beautiful friendship that we have. It's just honesty, transparency, celebrating each other and seeing ourselves, and also the challenges, being there for each other and the challenges as well. So love you so much. All right, love you so much too.
Thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me. Thanks everyone.
Bye.